Welcome to my daily review. Today is Monday, October 6th. You're looking at a daily chart of the Nasdaq, which was, been the leading index, and once again today showed well, up 161 points or 0.71%, closed at 22,941. We're getting close to that 23,000 threshold. You could see the Nasdaq is now 5.2% above its 50 simple moving average and 2.3% above the 21-day line. The volume today was 16% above the 50-day average. And, you're just in a melt-up mode, and it's very important to understand the market environment that we're in, because when you have an index looking like this, your leading stocks are going to be have looking like this as well, or even a greater trajectory than what the index is doing. So the leading stocks are not going to sit here and form bases for you. They're just going to have these little pullbacks, and these dips have been bought. This is your classic, buy the dip type of a market. Every time it dips, dips are bought. A lot of liquidity in this market looking for a place to go, and there's a lot of speculation. So the Nasdaq just keeps rolling higher. There's, nothing to do really, but allow your winners to run. Maybe, trim some here and there, but there's no sense in, you want to let your winners run, and don't cut your profits short by being too hasty. But you always want to save money for a dip. I always do. To me, 80% to 85% is fully invested. And that's just the way I roll because of my age. But if you're a younger person, you could be on margin 200% and really get after something like this with some of the stocks that I'm going to show you here going forward. I'm just going to start. I'm not going to go through the indexes. I'm going to go through some of the stocks that I had on the ready list this morning. Now, when you have the index up like that, you'd think Apple would be up, but this thing's just consolidating here around this big base. So it might take a week or two for this thing to, form a handle. But Apple's definitely set up for higher prices. And, we have earnings season coming up here, and that's going to have a big say on how the indexes roll. And I think they're going to roll a lot higher. NVIDIA is another one that I had on the ready list. Obviously, with the news this morning, which I'll get to in a minute. This one pulled back a little bit, but not too bad. I thought it would get hit a little harder, down 1%. But yeah, just let it come into that area there, that 184, 185. It's right there. You can see it pull back to its 5 EMA today. So NVIDIA looks fantastic as well. Microsoft didn't have as much trouble as the other two. It was up 2% today, and it's just still consolidating within this base. And you can see by those three big kahuna stocks why I still think this market's going to roll higher. Tesla, another one that's in the Mag 7, just pulled back. It was a sell the news event on their deliveries, a couple days pulled back. And that's what I just said. To buy the dip mentality, this thing pulled back to the 21 on Friday and then ramped, nearly 6% today. Nice move for Tesla, Meta, and Google. Yeah, okay, Meta's consolidating in a base. Yeah, I haven't looked at this one in a while. Google, I know, is super strong. Yeah, pull back to the 21, buy the dip mentality. There you go. All right, I'm going to move on because the news of the day was obviously AMD and OpenAI partnering. And, if you just, I shouldn't say forget the news because this is a news-driven market. But if you just look at it technically, it made this high of 227.30 back in March of 2024. It's been consolidating in a base for a long, long time, right? And now it's formed this stage one consolidation pattern. Yeah, it rallied up today and closed near the lows of the session, but I mean, a 24% move for a stock like that. Yeah, it closed 3% of the daily range. And a lesson to be learned here is that, when something spikes up, don't chase, don't run in and say, I want to buy AMD, because there's going to be profit taking. Now, I still think this goes higher. I think it's going to take out that 227.30, but it's not going to do it today, tomorrow, or next week. It's going to probably have to have an earnings call to really spike this thing. I think it's going to 300 eventually, but they have quarterly report coming up in November, and they did not include their China revenues in the last quarterly report. because of there was some uncertainty with what was going on with the chips from the U.S. government with meddling in their chip sales with China, and now that's been resolved. So there's clarification there. So they're going to report China revenues this quarter, which would be an add-on to their guidance. So they didn't include that. So they're going to crush their numbers. Of course, everybody knows that. If I know that, then everybody knows that. But still, I think that, solid beat and raise is coming for AMD. And I think you just got to take a step back and take a look, at a weekly chart. And, it's a top group, a top stock, and making new highs, 22, 227.30. Yeah. Yeah, that's your trigger point, I would say. Just it's going to take some time, I believe, to ferret out, all the profit takers and all the traders here. And so, probably hang around 200, I don't know, 190, 200 for a while before their earnings report. So don't just jump in right away. Another company that benefited today from the news was Sanmina. They bought a AMD company, a data center company, TZ back in May, and that's the preferred, I guess, data center for AMD. Anyway, smart move by Yuri Sola. He's no dummy. A big breakout here for Sanmina, and congrats to the longs there. Yes, sir. Yuri, he retired and he went golfing. He hurt his back. And the company was really in the dumps. And when he came back, man, this thing's been really ripping. Here you go. Um, right here is your downtrend monthly chart. Yeah, this is a slide here. Whoop. And then since he came back, it's been straight up. So management matters, people matter, personnel. When you got leaders like him, I mean, yeah, that makes a big difference. So they made a smart, wise decision. And technically, this is just a classic breakout. Power through the pivot, just like AMD. That's what you want to see. I didn't point that out. This is what you want to see when you have a breakout of 24% massive volume. And same with Sanmina. Yeah. Congrats to Lisa Su and Yuri Sola. Those two hit it out of the park today. All right, I wanted to point out another thing, like people, they get bulled up over the weekend. This is an IBD number one stock, and they look at the charts, and I'm gonna buy this thing, and it's gonna go, to $100. And you catch it here in the first 10 minutes or 58.28, and what happens? It just sells off all day, and you feel like a dummy, like you got suckered. And it never did get back up to that 58.28, closed it 57.75, which is a nice day, right? 14%. But this is what happens when you start chasing stuff. And the CIFR is the same thing, rallied up the first 10 minutes, 16.12, woohoo, we're going to the moon, right? And then so you buy at 16.12 and it closes at 15.34, and you're going, shoot, I lost money on a stock that was up, 4.5%. So it's really, important that you don't chase. Monday morning is the worst because people look at charts, they read their financial, newsletters, their IBD or their Barron's or whatever, and they got their charts ready and they're all bulled up to go buy some stock. And then pros, they buy and pros sell. So, don't get caught up in that. It's happened to me for a lifetime. So I'm just kind of relaying, my experiences here, buying gaps up on a Monday morning. ALAB, this thing was up huge too. What, 230? Still close at 220, not bad, but yeah, don't chase that stuff in the morning. CRDO, another one that I like a lot. ALAB I had on the ready list. I got to go back here. Sorry about that. I will get to CRDO. ALAB I did put on the ready list. Why? Well, because it pulled back to the 50 and found support. It started to bounce last week, and it got a little bit of rejection here on Thursday, and then Friday. Friday was a down day, 4% for ALAB, but the support had already happened, the bounce had already happened. It was just kind of a follow through today of 10% move for ALAB. Yeah, I've got to go through all time frames here on these. Now this one, the CRDO pulled back to its 21. It really didn't bounce like um, ALAB did. So yeah, a little bit weaker of a stock here. Going to the 5-minute chart, there you go. There's the old okey doke, 158, I'm going to buy 156, whatever it was, it's even higher than that, 156, okay. And then it closes at 147, so you feel like a dummy. I've done that so many times in my life, so I'm just pointing it out, not saying you did anything wrong. If you're buying these gaps in the morning, Hopefully you learn after, getting burned a few thousand times. Yeah, it's just it stinks, but you can't be too eager. The old saying is, fools rush in, right? EOSE, another one, Twitter favorite, and this one, it's the same kind of deal where ramps in the morning, 10 minutes in, it's 15:19, and woohoo, we're going to the moon 15:18, and an hour later, and then what happens? Just selling off into the close all day long, selling. So you feel like a dummy, when you buy it 15:18 to close at 13:86. The other one was ONDS, one of the this one's flying machine, very favorite amongst the retail crowd. Yeah, 11:60, 10 minutes in, and then all of a sudden it closed at 10:60. That really stinks. So I'm just pointing that out, not, I'm just saying it hurts, it stinks. It feels like you've been suckered. That's what I feel like when I chase those things, and at the end of the day, you're going, what did I do that for? It's like, I bought and the pro sold, and I feel like the idiot holding the bag there. But anyway, I'm going to move on because the mineral story was a big story there over the weekend. The U.S. government making overtures towards critical minerals, and this one capped up. Looks like it got halted here a little bit. I didn't really follow it, but yeah, I was running hard. And then I guess during the day they said that, I don't know, they're not interested or something. It's still up 45%. But I mean, if you thought it was, 1658 yippee ki it closed at 1159. So yeah, it was up 45%, but I think a lot of people who got in this, once again, you bought early and then you got burned. But still a nice day if you've been holding for a while, just holding that stock. USA Rare Earth, up this one, once again, overtures from the US government, and that one is doing well. MP, same thing. Yeah, they're really after these mineral companies. Cup with handle pattern. I didn't put this one on the ready list, but that's a nice shakeout. It really could be on the ready list. I like it a lot, but it was up 4% today. So, yeah, the mineral companies were doing quite well. AUGO, Aura Minerals, thinly traded. Yeah, I mean it's a three billion market cap stock, but just surfing the 500, and you can see the big volume coming in here recently. That's quite a change. That's a dramatic change in volume here, where it's just putzing along here, probably what 25,000, 25,000. Now they're getting 1,430,000. So yeah, something's happening with this stock. I didn't really research it, but yeah, it's making new highs and looking very strong. All right, that's it for the minerals. Somebody asked me to look at the crypto. Now, obviously, Bitcoin was up to 126 over the weekend. Last I checked, it was near 125. So I was asked to look at Coinbase. Yeah, I like Coinbase. Technically, what did it do? Well, it's forming a base. Duh, you can see this, but it undercut the 50 and then rallied back above. And then, whoops, give you the old okey doke and undercut it again. And now has rallied like 6, 7 straight days in a row. And I think you're in the clear there from the moving average. And it filled this gap right here when it gapped lower. The low was what, 376.76, and so it gapped down. I guess that was an earnings gap, formed this little base, and now today it got back above, or I guess Friday it got back above that low there. So it filled that gap, and for 444 would be the standard buy point. I would not wait that long at all because there's very little overhead supply here, between 386 and 444. I think it's go time for Coinbase, especially with Bitcoin trading at whatever it is, record highs, 125, 126. Galaxy, I like this one a lot. I'm going to do a video on IPOs, and I'm going to include this one, IPOs from 2025. There's been a lot of them, and I think you got to ferret out some of the riffraff from, well, what do they call it? The wheat from the chaff. Just, there's a lot of companies coming to market that aren't really that great at companies. They're just kind of greedy and want to take the bucks. But there are some quality companies here. I think this is one of them. Uh, This has got a 13 billion market cap, so it's no small, micro cap stock. But you can see this IPO base ran up and then formed this double bottom base. wasn't ready. This is, the institutional due diligence phase, this whole rigmarole right here. Yeah, institutions do their homework on these companies, right? And this has got, decent management. I think it's a legit company, and now it could be entering its institutional advanced phase. Could be, could be. To me, it hasn't proven itself quite yet. There you can see, like, yeah, it could be entering an advanced phase here, but I like it a lot. I mean, if you're going to own, well, I wouldn't own all of them because there's a lot of them, but if you're going to own one, this is a good one to own. There's others that I like as well, but yeah, this is quality stock. And the last one I was asked to look at was Robinhood. And some people were getting upset with Robinhood today. I was like, hello, this thing was up, I forget what it was, 300% here from 29 to whatever, 113. It just formed this little base here. Okay. It's like, I don't know. It's like you guys have Thanksgiving dinner. This is like eating Thanksgiving dinner. You got the turkey, you got the mashed potatoes, you got the gravy, the cranberry, the pumpkin pie, whatever. And now you sit on the couch and you go to sleep and you watch football and you go to sleep and you nod away. And then you wake up and you pop the cork, the champagne, it's Christmas time, and it's time to go, right? And that's what Robinhood's doing. It's just breaking out of this base. It's running higher. I know it was down today, 3%. I don't care. This thing wants higher prices. It did make a new high today. Okay, so the Thanksgiving turkey has been, whatever you call it, digesting gains or backing and filling or whatever you want to call it. Consolidation. That's a consolidation base. It's moving higher. Okay. I know it was 153 this morning. It's 144 tonight. So what? I mean, this thing's broke out of this pattern from like 113 to 95, 117 to 95. It's just back and forth consolidation, and now it's trading higher. So that's my take on Robinhood. I think it's going much higher. I don't really care about the valuation, people. This is just technical trading right now. I said at the top of the show, we're in a different kind of market environment, and these things are not going to form bases. I mean, it just did, really. And now it's going higher. It wants higher. It's surfing that 5 EMA. So that's my assessment of Robinhood. I could be wrong. I'm often wrong, but never in doubt. All right, I'm going to move on. Oh no, I have one more before I move on. This is BKKT, and there's something going on here. What it is ain't exactly clear, but this thing pulled back to its five today, barely. I think the five was what, 37.36, and the low was 37.78. So in spirit, it just kissed and bounced. Let's take a look at the five here. So this is opposite of what I was showing you earlier. This thing pulled back at the open, and then buyers came in and bought it up, right? That's what you want to see. Pull back near its five and then close, buyers, a little bit of profit taking at the end. But this thing has been a monster. I think it's going higher as well. This is what you would call your classic, high tight flag, right? Where it runs up and now it's consolidating. I've got another we've seen a lot of these, but yeah, that's something you want to run towards, not away from, because chances are it goes much higher. Um, and that's it for that group. Okay, I wanted to point out a couple of names here. Palantir last week got hammered on a pretty flimsy report, and I mentioned it, I think, on my weekend video that this is kind of an unjustified move. I forget the story, but it doesn't matter. The CEO came out and rebuked the story right away, which is always good, show leadership. But it was just an inside day today. So finding support at the five, I think it's going to stabilize and then trade higher. That's your classic cup with handle. You need a shakeout, right? And there's your shakeout. The fake out before the breakout, right? So we'll see what happens with Palantir. I think it's going higher though. Datadog, another software name. I don't think I put this one on my ready list. I might have. It's on my watch list. I mentioned it in my morning show. This is definitely one to watch here. It's up nearly 4%. You can see the base here. Um, Consolidation pattern. You could call that, a double bottom. The pattern doesn't really matter. People get hung up on patterns. Uh, what you want to see is the breakout and the move higher, right? No matter what it is, 3 weeks tight, double bottom, whatever it is, flat base, cup with handle, it doesn't matter. Um, okay, let me snowflake pattern is a pattern. Yeah, this one's setting up as well. I don't know if I put these on. I think I put this one on last week and it ran up so much I took it off. I think that was the case. Marty, you're a basket case. What the heck you doing here? Yeah, it was up 5%, so I probably said, a little extended from its five. I forget actually which stocks I put on this morning. I know Apple and NVIDIA were two of them. Okay, so Snowflake looks good. Roblox, another one that sold off last week on a rumor. Somebody, some analyst said that they're slowing growth, without really substantiating it. Channel checks. They'll always say channel checks show they're slowing growth. Well, maybe they just wanted to pull back, for to buy some shares for their clients. I'm not sure if Roblox has slowing growth though. This thing is an expensive company and it'll definitely get a haircut. Just an inside day today, much like Palantir. Those two are definitely on watch. Shopify. Yeah, this is one. Yeah, well, nice move here, breaking out from this cup with handle pattern. There's what I'm talking about, your shakeout, right? 4 days of just shake, 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 gap lower here. Woo, that's tough to take, right? You're 159 one day, and a couple days later, you're 139. Come on, man. And then now all of a sudden, boom, buyers come in as a find support at the 50 and rallies. Classic stuff there for Shopify. Oh, we got App Lovin' tonight. Down 14% during the session, down 4% more after hours. This is on a Muddy Waters rumors from the short sellers that App Lovin' has addressed this over and over and over again. This is an old story, old news. The SEC is not going to do anything to AppLovin, so it's just a shakeout. Maybe it'll come down to the 50 tomorrow if we're lucky, which is what, 516.75. It's going up a couple of bucks. Call it 520. Yeah, if it can get there, I think that would be a screaming buy. Yeah, just a shakeout. The SEC is not going to do anything. They're a joke. All right. This is what scares retail folks, though. When you see a big bar like that, it's like, I better pay attention, right? Something's going on. But that story is just BS. It's got a gap to fill there too at 507, 511. Maybe it'll do that. I don't know. One to watch, but I think. This will be maybe pink for a while, a week or two. You got to give it some time. And then earnings will come up and they'll blow the roof off the mother. And then it'll be like $1,000. You'll say, why didn't I buy it when it's down here at, 553? Anyway, last one on this group. I just had to throw this one in there. This is Open Door. I talk about this one like every day. People are probably sick of me talking about it, but I was, mentioning these flags that, got support at the five, raise up and then flag at the five and then flag at the five every time, right? And then the last time it didn't flag at the five, it undercut the five, and it did come down to the 21. So it's got this little flag at the 21. Today broke out 14% move. They said they're going to sell homes and accept Bitcoin, so that's kind of a big deal. They're going to try to make home buying simpler, cut out the retail, folks. Sorry, real estate agents. But that 6% on the buy and sell sides, a little tough to take, and it's just easier. The problem with open doors, the analysts will sit there and say, well, it's a meme stock. Well, it's easy to say that. It's a meme stock, it's a dog, but you got to look, there's new management here. Peter Lynch made his career buying turnaround stories, and this is a turnaround story with new management, a very good CEO who came from Shopify. And if they can successfully make it easier to buy homes through iBuying, the problem with open doors, what I've studied is that they've some of their homes, they have a bad reputation of having dumps essentially. They don't fix them up before they sell. So if they could put some love into the home, get some contractors to fix it up so there's no plumbing problems, electrical problems, or wood rot or anything like that. Throw a paint job on it, make it look nice. So when the buyer comes in, he's getting what is advertised. So they've got some PR issues surrounding that area, but I believe in their management team's pretty strong, and this thing could be a massive turnaround play. And you could be looking at, they try to model themselves after Carvana, but Yeah, this thing could be, if you want to speculate, which there's a lot of speculation in the market, yeah, that thing could get back to $39. I could see that. With if the management executes. All right, that's enough of open door. I got to go to the energy group, one of the top groups in OKLO. Once again, I talk about the buy the dip mentality, right? This is a buy the dip market. It dipped 1, 2, 3 days, found support. It tested that low there and then bounced and now made another new high today. This is OKLO. I think it was up, what did I say, 500% this year, just this year alone. And in the past year, 1100%. So this is definitely one not to be ignored. LEU, same thing, just surfing the five. These things are super strong. Nuclear energy. We need all types of energy in this country. Data centers are going to suck the life out of the grid system. Light Bridge, this is one that made another high today, up 7%. I think, I think this one, yeah, it got the old okey doke. At the morning, it was 24.78, closed at 22.68. Boo-hoo. But still a nice day, right? I mean, still a nice day, but it's just, you got to watch that on the Monday morning gaps up. All right, in E, I got to move along here. I got so many stocks. Nice move today. 21%. That is a breakout. Talk about power through the pivot. There you go. There's your big volume bar as it rallies through the old 43.75. Wow. Nice move there for nano nuclear. All right. I got drug stocks. I'm going to try to go quickly here. Um, ARWR. Hello. Can you type? Yes. Okay. This one was surfing the five and now exploded higher today. And it looks like another one of these. Yeah, the old okey doke at the open, right? Seeing a lot of this on a Monday morning. We gap up, yippee-ki-yay, woohoo, 39.42, and then we close at 37.50, $2 lower, like 5% loss there. Probably get shaken out with a move like that. STOK, this is one that I haven't talked about much, but trending higher, surfing the moving averages. SPRB, now they got FDA approval this morning. And yeah, you can't even see this thing. It's just ridiculous. 1400% move. I ought to go to 10-minute chart. Yeah, you can say bloop, 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 bloop. Oh, started getting some interest here. And then today with the approval, massive move. Congrats to the longs there. There was a lot of analysts and some pharma heads talking this one up. It's for spine. I can't really go in detail. It was for that's my friend Jelko Sola calling me. All right, Mr. Sola, I have to call you back later. Let me see here. I got distracted. All right, and then IMNM, another one that had a ready list last week, blasting higher. Thank you very much. And then NTLA, another one. Gosh, these things. There's a lot of these biotech stocks that are looking fantastic. They've really turned around recently. And even, the bigger ones like Lilly and Merck and Pfizer, those things are starting to look a lot better there. Yeah, these ones, they're going to pull out their bazookas and buy more of these smaller companies as well. Anyway, I got to get off the drugs and go to the quantum stocks. Now, these things did the opposite of what we talked about in the morning session, how it pulled back a little bit. Most of them were ramped up. This one pulled back and then buyers came in. Bam, what a nice move. So if you're buying the dip here, you got 72 to 78 move, 79 really. Same with Rigetti. I was watching this one because it was dancing with 40, pulled back to that 38 level. Man, got up above 43. These things are just super strong. So don't want to fight that type of momentum. I don't care if they don't have revenue or I don't care if they're working out of a garage. It doesn't matter. Technically, this thing it just wants higher prices. It's in price discovery, and you don't want to get in the way of that freight train. Not at all. I don't. The flyers, the frequent flyers, drones, anything that flies, moving higher. This is Rocket Lab. You can see it breaking out of a base, but not quite as strong as ASTS. This thing made a hell of a move, up 8%. So this one is definitely stronger, breaking out of this cup with handle than Rocket Lab. Maybe Rocket Lab will catch up. We'll have to wait and see. UMAC, UMAC. Yeah, this one's super strong as well. The one defense name that I like, KTOS. Yeah, just surfing the fives. Super strong. JOBY. Oh, a nice 7% move. You can see it's breaking out of this base here. It doesn't want to stay in that little cup. And same with Archer. This one I talked about this morning on the morning show. And I don't know if anybody bought these. I didn't, but man, just strength all day. Look at that. Tesla, I guess Musk was teasing that there might be some deal in the works there. All right, I've got, I'm going to cut this short. I'm going to do a video on IPOs. I'm just going to show a couple of them. I showed you one earlier in Galaxy. There's Klarma. There's Figure Tech, FIGR, and I'm just going to go through these quickly because this video is too long. These are starting to pop though. So I'm going to do a video this weekend on some of these, maybe about 10 IPOs. And let me see. And also, I'm going to do a video on um, earning seasons coming up. And so I'm going to do about 10 of the best gap and go stocks because when stocks gap up on earnings and rip higher like Glowworm did, Corning, they make the glass for the iPhones, they tend to do it over and over again. They call them serial gappers, right? They gap once, they gap twice, they gap three times. But just because this one gapped once and ran up doesn't guarantee it's going to do it again. But I like the chances. And same on the way down. If they gap lower, they tend to gap lower a couple times before being exhausted. So that's one of them that I want to show. LASR. There's another one, Gap and Go stock. Fix is another one, Gap and Go. There's a lot of them, folks. So, yeah, I'm going to make a short video this weekend just because we're coming into earnings season and I just want to refresh your memory on some of these names. You don't want to forget these because if Fix Gap's up to $1,000 and you say, man, why didn't I know about that one? Well, Marty told you about it in his video. So if you didn't act on it, then that's your problem. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up. However, in honor of the great Steve Jobs, you're not going to get away without me talking about gold. Gold's really ramping, and these gold stocks are continuing higher. And I'm not going to do this for very long. You know the ticker symbols, and I'm not, yeah, I'm just kind of being funny here. But they are all heading higher. That one making a new high. New highs are good, Okay, so you know the tickers, you know the names. I'm just being cute. At mcstockcharts.com, we never give up. Have a great evening.